I found my wife's secret Google account. She has hundreds of photos of my ex saved. I, M36, met my wife, Bailey, F33, 9 years ago through mutual coworkers, and we hit it off immediately. I fell absolutely head over heels with this woman. She was everything I was looking for. I had gotten out of a toxic, dare I say abusive, long-term relationship right before that with a woman Bailey had been acquainted with, but not friends with. I had her blocked on everything, and had no contact with her since breaking up. We got married right after the tail end of the 2020 event, bought our first house together, and started trying to conceive. That was difficult because Bailey has PCOS, but last year she finally gave birth to our first daughter. I'm having a blast being a dad. It's kind of a dream come true. I finally got my happy life with my perfect wife. My perfect wife. Until last Monday. My laptop's battery pooped the bed, so I opened up Bailey's work tablet with an attached keyboard. You can set it up like a monitor, to check on some tax stuff. She wasn't home. It was just me and the baby. But we've never asked permission to use each other's devices. We've always been open like that. There's nothing for us to hide. That's what I thought. When I opened up the internet, I noticed she had the incognito tab open. Never in a million years did I expect to discover what I did. My wife has a secret Google account with a photo album saved called XX, so I clicked on it. Did I discover an affair? Nudes? Nope. In this Google album were over 300 photos, 348 actually, of my ex. The woman I was with right before I met Bailey. The woman who tormented me and made me feel worthless. The album said it was started back right around the time Bailey and I started dating, and was updated as recently as 2 weeks ago. The photos range from candid shots with family to pictures at her work functions. There were even pictures from her yearbook. I don't know how Bailey could have found her high school yearbook photos. Photos from vacations, ID photos from work, pictures of her in crowds, screenshots of videos, and screen recordings of videos. Just her. The other people in the photos would be scribbled out, or the photo would be cropped and zoomed in just on my ex. There was other disturbing things I found too. There was another album with just zoomed up pictures of my ex's hair. Come to think of it, Bailey had recently started wearing her hair different, and my ex had a very identifiable hair type. There was another album with screenshots of comments on social media. Of course I can't find them because I have her blocked, like Facebook groups she's in and public posts. And my ex is very low-key on social media. I can't imagine the lengths Bailey went to find them. My ex literally lives in another country now. There were also different links to the exact outfits she was wearing, like very specific blouses and trousers you'd have to really go looking for to find, a specific water bottle I remembered her purchasing, and identical hiking boots and sandals. So basically, my partner of almost a decade has been single white femaling my ex-girlfriend, has secretly stalked her to the point of buying her exact clothes and changing her hair, and now I'm starting to realize Bailey's new interests over the years were just my ex's. Bailey has turned herself into my ex. Everything feels like a lie. Our love feels like a lie. The things we share feel like a lie. I threw up and had a panic attack. I looked at our daughter and felt betrayed. I haven't confronted her yet. I don't know if I want to. I want to run away with our daughter. I want to print out all her pictures, leave them on the table, and disappear. I don't know what to do. I just want to throw up. Relevant comments. Commenter. Holy cow. That definitely is alarming. The best thing to do is address it now to see what'll change if she no longer has someone to replicate. The toxic side of me would slowly start mentioning things like, you know, you really do remind me of someone, and nonchalantly bite into an apple and walk away. Original poster. I feel like what's worse is that she's subtly made these changes over time under my nose. So, my ex has a specific career, and Bailey didn't express interest in switching careers to the exact same thing until after I had mentioned what my ex did. Didn't notice at the time, but I remember telling her, X went to school for that. The hair was more recent, the outfits and objects, slowly over time. The interests, I'm not sure how much she's stolen personality-wise from my ex and what she actually likes. It's all incredibly exhausting and confusing. Commenter. I'm so sorry. This sounds like something out of creepypasta. Original poster. I'm actually surprised with the amount of support I've gotten on here in the last hour, haha. Believe it or not, there are no other red flags in our marriage. Now I don't know what else I've missed. While I talked about my ex, most of the things I told my wife about were negative and paint her in not such a good light. My wife knows these things and know they were traumatic. Of course, I've mentioned things like what she does for a living and things she used to do. I think everything else she found she got through intense cyberstalking through my ex's friends and family. The yearbook photos, I have no idea. Edit. Removed specific info so I don't accidentally dox myself. Update 1. I was not expecting my original post to go viral and have so many responses. Yikes. I am overwhelmed by the support. I am humbled by the number of people who have been through this experience, on both sides. I have an update, but it's probably not as exciting and as juicy as you want. It's not bad though. First, let me clear things up. If people think this post is fake because it doesn't make sense, or are trying to conceive timeline is short, or the way I worded things makes it look like a teenager or woman wrote it, continue to think that because it means I've successfully been vague enough and worded things to not accidentally dox myself. Believe this is a creative writing exercise, so I don't embarrass myself. For real. No, I didn't actually throw up. I was in the middle of a panic attack. Private browsing. Tabs were open to the websites with clothing and objects. Another tab was signed into Google Photos. When I exited the Google Photo tab to look at the websites with clothing and came back, it was already signed out and I couldn't get back in. A lot of the clothing I recognized wasn't because I remembered my ex wearing them. There were more recent pictures of her in the file wearing them, and I remember the day Bailey bought the water bottle that also happened to be in the folder. The hair. Bailey and my ex are the same race, and my ex wore braids in a particular way. Not so particular that it's exclusive to my ex, because Bailey has also worn different braids, but seeing pictures of her made me put two and two together. Is there any way Bailey could have gotten with me in an attempt to get to my ex? Was Bailey possibly obsessed with my ex before she met me? Probably not, because Bailey grew up here and my ex originally moved here for university. And while you can drive across the border, it's not that easy, and I don't think Bailey was going back and forth to stalk her in person. Also, the reasons why my ex and I broke up have nothing to do with Bailey, and she could not have had any involvement. On to the actual update. The next day, when I had calmed down, I called several social workers and therapists. I was planning to confront her there. Unfortunately, the only places that take our insurance did not have an opening for another couple weeks. So, despite what a lot of you think, I've known my wife for nearly a decade. And even while I was confused and upset and doubting things, I didn't think she'd be a danger to me. We took baby to grandma's and I asked her to go for a walk with me. I did not beat around the bush and straight up told her I found the folder. Her face got very red and she was frozen, but also tried to play dumb at first. I was persistent, and she started crying and begged me not to leave her. This is what I uncovered. Bailey first started looking up my ex out of curiosity. To keep tabs, I guess? But over time it became more pathological. It's like she got addicted to it, but she also wanted to please me. Okay, maybe I talked about my ex a lot more than I thought, and Bailey wanted to emulate the good parts. She told me she really doesn't know who she is, and my ex's image was something she latched onto because she had me first. Finding information about her became a game. Finding the clothing and objects became a game, by searching things like blue water bottle green stripe, until she compare the product to a photo and find the exact one. The reason why I couldn't find the posts wasn't because I had blocked my ex, but because my ex had made a new Facebook under a different name. Bailey found her profile by searching up a family member. She made fake social media and added enough mutual friends until she could see my ex's posts, and until her private Instagram accepted her. She weaseled her way into her exercise Facebook group, where the videos were posted, and searched her school on a yearbook website to find the yearbook pictures. Over time, she just collected the images, and would get excited to find something new, despite the fact that my ex is extremely private on social media. The folder had originally been called Hex the Ex. In case I discovered it, she was going to make the excuse of saving the pictures to put a hex on her. When she made a burner Google account, she deleted the old folder and named the new one XX. Then she got sloppy and comfortable, and that's right around the time I just happened to open the work tablet. We took a break. It was a while. We made it to couples counseling, and Bailey and I also began seeing separate therapists. She still has not had an assessment with a psychiatrist, but it's on the list. She promised to stop and deleted the album in front of me. Slowly, certain clothing items began to disappear from the closet. I still do not entirely trust her, and that is for me to work on. I'm afraid she has another secret account somewhere, like a backup. The physical mimicking is actually stopping though, including the hair change. We're still not okay. I want us to be okay, and it's okay if that takes time. If we end up not being okay, then that's something I have to deal with. What I do know is that my wife is incredibly insecure, probably mentally ill, and is misled. I don't really want to walk away from that. Although this probably isn't the most exciting update, I appreciate the private messages I just couldn't get back to, Reddit cares, and links to resources. I'm not sure how I feel about social media, YouTube, and TikTok picking up on my story though. That's wild. Until next time, if I ever give another update, I hope it's a good one. Update 2. Alright, here I am again. It's been a few months since my last update and, honestly, a lot has happened. First, I want to thank everyone for their support and for sharing their own experiences. It's been a crazy roller coaster, and knowing that I'm not alone has made it a bit more bearable. So, where to start? After our initial counseling sessions, things seemed to be improving. Bailey was more open about her feelings and insecurities, and I was trying to be as supportive as possible while also dealing with my own trust issues. I was hopeful that we could work through this together, but there were still a lot of unanswered questions that kept nagging at me. One evening, after putting our daughter to bed, Bailey and I sat down to talk. She admitted that she still had urges to look up my ex, even though she knew it was wrong. She said it was like an addiction she couldn't shake, and that scared her. She was genuinely trying to stop, but the temptation was always there. I appreciated her honesty, but it also made me realize that this wasn't something that would just go away overnight. Around this time, I started noticing small changes in Bailey's behavior. She was more withdrawn, often lost in thought, and seemed anxious whenever we talked about the future. I couldn't help but wonder if she was hiding something again. My paranoia was kicking in, and I hated that feeling. One night, curiosity got the better of me. Bailey had left her phone on the kitchen counter while she went to take a shower. I knew it was wrong, but I couldn't resist the urge to check. I felt like I needed to know if she was still up to her old tricks. I unlocked her phone and went straight to her email. Sure enough, there it was, a new secret Google account. My heart sank. I clicked on the account and found another photo album. This time, there were even more pictures of my ex, along with some recent screenshots of her social media posts. It was clear that Bailey hadn't stopped her obsessive behavior. I felt a mixture of anger, betrayal, and a deep sense of sadness. I didn't know what to do. When Bailey came out of the shower, I confronted her immediately. She looked at me with a mix of guilt and fear, and I could see the tears welling up in her eyes. She didn't deny it. Instead, she broke down and admitted that she had relapsed. She begged me to understand and not to leave her. She said she was trying so hard to stop, but felt like she was losing the battle. We spent the next few hours talking, crying, and trying to make sense of everything. I realized that Bailey's obsession was more deeply rooted than I had initially thought. It wasn't just about my ex. It was about Bailey's own identity and her struggle with self-worth. She felt like she could never measure up to the image of my ex that she had built in her mind. I knew we needed more help than what we were getting. The next day, I contacted a specialist in obsessive-compulsive disorders and managed to get Bailey an appointment. It was a step in the right direction, but I was still unsure if it would be enough. Over the next few weeks, Bailey started her new treatment. She was diagnosed with a form of OCD that was fixated on identity and comparison. It was a relief to finally have a name for what she was going through, but the road to recovery was going to be long and hard. The therapy sessions were intense, and Bailey often came home emotionally drained. I did my best to be there for her, but I was struggling too. Our relationship was under immense strain. Trust was a major issue, and I found myself constantly on edge. Every time Bailey would go online, I wondered if she was slipping back into her old habits. It wasn't a healthy way to live, and I knew it. We had many late-night conversations about our future and whether we could survive this. There were times when I seriously considered leaving, but I couldn't bring myself to do it. I loved Bailey, and I wanted to believe that we could get through this together. One particularly difficult night, Bailey and I had a huge argument. I had found another photo on her phone, and it pushed me over the edge. I yelled at her, accusing her of not trying hard enough, of lying to me, and of ruining our family. She yelled back, saying she felt trapped and that I didn't understand how hard it was for her. It was one of the worst fights we've ever had. Our daughter woke up crying, and it broke my heart to see her caught in the middle of our mess. After that night, we decided to take a break from each other. Bailey went to stay with her sister for a while, and I stayed home with our daughter. It was a difficult decision, but we both needed time to think and to heal. During that time, I did a lot of soul searching. I realized that I needed to work on myself too. My anger and mistrust were not helping the situation. I started seeing a therapist on my own to deal with my issues. Bailey and I kept in touch, but the conversations were more about logistics than anything else. We both missed each other, but we knew that we needed this time apart. It gave us a chance to focus on ourselves and to figure out what we really wanted. After a few weeks, Bailey and I met up at a park to talk. We had both done a lot of thinking and were ready to be honest with each other. Bailey told me about the progress she was making in therapy and how she was learning to cope with her urges. She still had a long way to go, but she was determined to get better. I told her about my own therapy and how I was working on my trust issues. I admitted that I still loved her and wanted to be with her, but I needed to see real change before I could fully trust her again. We decided to take things slow and to keep going to therapy, both individually and as a couple. We moved back in together, but it wasn't easy. There were still moments of doubt and tension, but we were committed to making it work. Bailey continued her treatment, and I tried to be as supportive as possible. We also made a conscious effort to spend more quality time together, to reconnect and rebuild our relationship. One day, while we were having a rare quiet moment together, Bailey looked at me and said, "I'm sorry for everything. I know I've hurt you, and I know it's going to take time to fix this, but I love you, and I'm not giving up on us." Hearing those words meant the world to me, and for the first time in a long time, I felt hopeful. Things are still a work in progress, but we're moving in the right direction. Our daughter is happy and healthy, and that's what matters most. We're taking it one day at a time, and I'm learning to trust Bailey again. It's not going to be easy, but I believe we can do it.